Good evening, good morning, whenever, wherever, however you may be joining me tonight. Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time listening to the show, this is your first time hearing my voice, thank you for giving me a chance. I'm your host, Spencer Galloway. Welcome into the 9th episode of the Restricted Area Podcast. I can't lie to you folks. I'm on a little bit of a high right now, a little bit of a sports high. It's been a little bit since we last spoke. That's kind of how this show goes. I am your fearless leader and protector who also abandons you for a couple weeks at a time. And then I show up unannounced. And I'm kind of like if I was your dad and I ran out on mom and I left for a pack of smokes and I didn't come back home except on birthdays and on Easter. Well, guess what? It's Easter weekend and daddy's home. So let's lock in. Let's recap a little bit. Why am I on such a high? I just got back from Boston. Boston, the city of Boston, the city of champions. I won't lie, this was supposed to be recorded in my City of Champions hoodie. And then, like a kid who can't put down his favorite blanket, I went back to the Jason Tatum Jordan hoodie. So if you're seeing this and you're like, no, I've already seen this one because he wore the hoodie already. No, that's just every episode. I just wear this hoodie religiously. A little bit of related note, also why I'm on a high. Tomorrow is April 7th. Tomorrow, Jason Tatum debuts his signature sneaker, and I am able to purchase it. But we didn't talk enough about the Boston trip. Dude, just awesome. Just awesome. I never return home from Boston and I'm like, yeah, that sucked. Or like, am not already looking at apartments in Boston to move there. It's just a badass time every time. And it's becoming a little bit of a yearly thing. And it needs to become like a is semi-annual the word? Biannual? I don't know. I think it's semi-annual if I was insinuating I want to go twice a year. Shit, I would go more if I could, but we gotta the podcast isn't bringing in nearly enough funds to support that yet, so we're gonna keep it light. But dude, Celtics game on Friday night. They're playing on the second night of a back-to-back, 5th game in 7 nights, and so I've heard it's impossible to play in those games and that your stars shouldn't have to play in those games. So I've heard from another contending team in the East. That's what I heard. But I'll be honest with you, going into the trip, I was like, man, hard pressed to see Tatum and Brown play. At home, second night of a back-to-back. After the game with Milwaukee, I was thinking, man, I'd just be happy to go to the game. Just be happy to be there. Which that was the case. I was just giddy as could be to be in TD Garden, but like a child, dude. I'm just checking my phone all day looking for the injury report, and that morning the Celtics posted probably the longest injury report ever. They do it on Twitter every day, the injury report, and that was the longest one I've ever seen. It was actually a 2-part tweet. I guess even being the NBA, even being the Celtics, they won't pay for the Twitter premium to get like the unlimited amount of characters to tweet. Dude, I was like, a two-parter on the injury report? And it was like Tatum, Brown, Horford, Williams, Smart. No, it was like, oh my God. I couldn't believe it. Anyways, fast forward to that evening. I'm getting lost in how fuzzy that day was. About an hour before the game, already have my tickets, no doubt, going, just excited to be there. Tatum and Brown confirmed, available, ready to play. Man, I was so excited. Tatum goes on to score like 39. It ended up being a competitive game with Utah. We were pretty shorthanded outside of Tatum and Brown. Most of, we sat the two bigs. But anyways, I got my money's worth. I'll say that. And it was my last time to see them this year. Saw them in Brooklyn earlier this year. Saw them, of course, here in San Antonio. Wow, it was just an awesome kick-ass experience. Fast forward to Saturday, first ever Red Sox game. I've been to Fenway Park before for, the ballpark tour. Just, that's always awesome. If you're in a city and they're not playing games, but you can still do the ballpark tour. It's about an hour, and it's like super cheap. Just do it. But nothing compares to actually watching a game in, especially a historic park. I don't know. Like, I've seen games in Minute Maid Park here in Houston quite a bit. I've been to probably dozens of games in Minute Maid Park. Nothing compares to the Fenway experience. So that was incredible. Just incredible. We had tremendous seats, third baseline right behind the dugout, and just getting to watch our $300 million man, Rafael Devers, up close in action. I actually made a tremendous defensive play that day, which, if you follow baseball at all, that's not his forte. But so that was really fun. Typical Red Sox fashion, we start the game getting our ass kicked. We're already pretty down on the season coming into it because of all the things that happened in the off season. It's basically a brand new team. Outside of some of outside of Devers, we let go of our pride and joys, Xander Bogaerts. Kind of been on the Red Sox front office for a few years now for cheaping out, and so we were going into it kind of down, and then just storybook finish, man. Storybook finish. Adam Duvall, who we bring in, and I'm admittedly not that excited about. Feels like his best days of ball are behind him, and man, just has a day. Goes up to the plate, bottom of the ninth, need a home run, gets a home run. 2-run over the Green Monster. Man, just 30,000 people, mass holes, just losing their minds, just going crazy. Man, dude, it's just perfect. Just a perfect weekend. Just a perfect weekend. And then, of course, to add to that, my F1 team, Mercedes, was really good over the weekend. I didn't get to watch any of it because Boston, of course, but that was nice. Just a great sports weekend, man. Celtics are locked into the 2 seed. Admittedly, would have liked the 1 seed. Don't really give a shit. I don't really give a shit. I kind of don't want to play New York in the second round. Sue me. I'm not to say that I was worried about the Knicks, but dude, I don't care that we're going to play Philly in the second round. I don't. I just don't give a shit. I don't care. We own them. I know they beat us the other night. No JB, shorthanded. Go figure. It was a super close game. Embiid had probably the most boring 52-point game I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'm sounding like a hater, but I think more so I'm just, I'm just locked in as like a Celtics, as like a, I know this is like a, supposed to have a semi non-biased view, kind of a national view of stuff. For this first 15 minutes, let me talk my shit, okay? Yeah, the Celtics are coming, okay, babe? We're coming. We're not worried about Embiid or Harden. Still love you, Harden. But we're not worried about that shit, okay? And the Bucks, admittedly, hey, they had the better regular season, which is bizarre to say because looking back and we had a rough December, but they had a rough stretch pre-All-Star as well. Man, it really comes down to the fact they had a 16-game win streak, and we did not. But hats off to Milwaukee. Doesn't take away from the fact we blew their brains out on last Thursday, 140-99. I'm gonna probably tattoo that score on me. Just kidding, man. I got a full slate of stuff to get into that's non-East. This is gonna be a very non-East episode. I mean, we're gonna talk about it a little bit. But real quick, I don't like this narrative about the Celtics and the Bucks, right? Like, it's okay if you have a favorite, like, going into the playoffs, and if you think the Celtics, if you think the Bucks have a better chance of advancing than the Celtics, that's fine. That's fair to have that opinion. But there's kind of like the way we talk about it is kind of like some folks would be shocked if the Celtics beat the Bucks at this point. It's like the Celtics are not dogs. Like, they're not underdogs. And I'm not trying to put the curse of calling us the favorites. I mean, I'm not saying we should be favored. I mean, Milwaukee, to be fair, has been the best team this season. But we beat them last year. Made it to the finals. Played a competitive finals against the Warriors. Beat the Bucks last year. Kind of kicked their ass all season this year. Do you remember Christmas? I remember Christmas. Do you remember the game in which we rolled out no Tatum, no Brown, no Horford, no Williams, no Smart, and we just rolled out Derek White and co. And we kind of ran the pace of that game until the very end. And Milwaukee had to step it up. Didn't that game go to overtime? Or this is all audible off the cuff. I did no preparation for this segment. This isn't a segment. This is just me. This is my opening monologue. Let me run. Let me cook. And then didn't everybody see last Thursday night when we beat them by 41? Now, if that's a playoff game, do we beat them by 41? No, because the starters finish it out and we beat them by 31. No, seriously, I hate that there's this idea that game doesn't count for anything. Look, admittedly so. If the roles were reversed, I would say, yeah, that sucks. But maybe it doesn't hold as much weight as it may seem. But come on. That game matters to some extent. Yes, if it's a playoff game, Giannis and Middleton and Holiday play that game out. They don't play just 30 minutes, or 28 minutes. They play the full game. And it's not as bad. But the Celtics got out early and kicked their ass, man. It was the game was tied at 25. The game started competitive and the refs were letting them play. And, you kind of had some playoff atmosphere. It wasn't quite that, but it was starting to feel like that. Celtics go on a run, kind of never look back, which was really impressive because the Celtics don't do that. We go on runs and then we collapse. That's kind of been our thing. But we needed that one. The Celtics admittedly needed that one more. Coming off the Wizards loss, we needed that one pretty badly. But I left that game feeling really good. I left that game saying, Tatum was 8 for 10 from 3. He found the stroke. He found the confidence on the road in Milwaukee, which, we want the 1 seed, right? We want that 1 seed, right? But we go ahead and we go in there and we show confidence and we show a level of comfort. Like we've played there before, like we've won there before, because we have. And I felt good. I don't want to discount that game, because if the roles were reversed and we lost by 41 in Milwaukee, I would be kind of sweating a little bit. I'd be like, shit, that one wasn't ideal. Like, because Milwaukee rolled out a full roster. Okay, they rolled out a full roster. And I get it. It was the second night of a back-to-back. That's not nothing. They played 5 games, 7 nights. That's not nothing either. That's not going to be the scenarios in the playoffs. But it's not like those 5 games were all grudge matches. And it's not like they were doing coast to coast to coast travel. Okay. I think some of the rest stuff can be a little overblown. We'll get into it a little bit. Everybody's done their, especially with the CBA changing, everybody's done their bit on what they would do if they were commissioner for a day. But I think some of that stuff's a little overblown. I mean, the fact of the matter is Milwaukee started that game with a fully healthy team and played a competitive game and had full intention of playing a competitive game, and they lost that game. They just did, plain and simple. I don't want to hear this shit about, no, Coach Bud, he's holding his cards. Dude, we know what's coming with Coach Bud. And it's not the first time these teams scored off. It's probably not going to be the last time these teams square off. There's no such thing as just not showing your full cards. Okay, your card, your play is Giannis. We get that. Okay, but the game wasn't nothing. Okay, the game wasn't nothing. I like the Celtics right now. I really am. Just saying, we should just really be talking about. I'm getting lost. If you're counting out the Celtics, F you. That's the point. Let's talk about the dog days of the NBA season. Okay? The last 2 weeks of the NBA season, here we are, man. This is it. Do you like what you see? Really, mostly this last week. I mean, like tonight, for example, there's a Heat Sixers game on, and I'm not watching it. Okay, I'm not watching it. I'm refusing to watch it. The game doesn't matter. Philly's locked into the 3rd seed. Miami is going to have to go do this play-in tournament pretty much no matter what. Jimmy Butler got up for this game. Nobody else did. Okay, that's the last week of the season. Okay, these last 2 weeks, okay, could be this. They could be cut. No, the last 2 weeks of the season could be kept on the calendar, but we could cut 8 games out of the season. Take us from 82 games to 74 games. It's not a drastic move. We just cut out 8 games. What does this do? It allows us to eliminate all back-to-backs. That way, when a game like Milwaukee-Boston happens, I don't have to see on Twitter about how it doesn't matter because it was a back-to-back from Milwaukee. Okay? It was also the first night of a back-to-back for Boston, by the way, and the next night, they played their 5th game in 7 nights. So what was the night before? Their 4th game in 6 nights. Okay? So how do you like them apples? It wasn't that big of an advantage for Boston. They were tired too. They had to get up for a back-to-back too, and they played in the back-to-back. Okay? Not that big of an advantage for Milwaukee, who was also at home. So how do you like them apples? Okay, I'm done with Boston and Milwaukee. I'm done. When you cut out 8 games, you add a little bit of scarcity. The revenue, look, dude, maybe this hasn't happened for a reason, and I'm not a big boss businessman billionaire, okay? So I don't really know, and I'm not really going to pull out my Excel spreadsheet and dive into the numbers of it. Hey, I don't think you're going to lose that much money if you cut out 8 games and you add this stupid play-in tournament you have the play-in tournament, but you add this stupid in-season tournament, which now adds an extra game for the teams that actually win the tournament. And what do they win? Cash. Okay. What does that do for me, dude? And I know one of the proposals, and maybe even I said it, I think I did, proposal for the All-Star game to be more competitive is cash. Look, but the All-Star game is going to happen no matter what, and we want to see it. It's peak. It's supposed to be peak competition of the best athletes in the sport. This in-season tournament was just pulled out of some dude's ass. And look, may come back here and eat my words. Look, I'll just say this. If it sucks, scrap it, please. Don't look, and we'll give it like 2 years. If we like it, awesome. I'll come back. I'll say it was awesome. If it sucks, scrap it. Don't be afraid to scrap a shit idea. If it sucks, scrap it, dude. I'm not like thrilled about the idea of this. I'm just not. I don't get it. Why are we making the season more and more and more complex? the play-in tournament, admittedly, is good. It adds some storylines. It makes some teams that wouldn't otherwise sweat. And it gives teams like in the 9 and 10 seed, like perennial play-in team Minnesota, they've got a shot. Okay, and they've got a shot. And if you're a team like LA that's been hampered by injuries for most of the season, you get a shot at the end of the year to say, well, let's get in there. So I like the play-in tournament. I like some of the stuff the NBA does. I do. Obviously, I love it. I love the NBA. I just don't get this the in-season tournament. And as we get closer and as we come up on next year, maybe it starts to all click, make a little bit more sense. Right now, though, I just don't, that just didn't seem like the most pressing of issues. And yeah, I think everybody was kind of hoping for something a lot closer to like cutting the season down a little bit in the sense of, look, I don't want to see less games. I love the NBA. I want to watch more games. I want to watch as much of it as I can physically ingest with my eyes. But I want the product to be good. So if I have to, if we have to cut some BS games out in order to make the product better, then do it. Man. I don't like the idea that I can fly into another city and like sweat the idea of whether a star is going to play or not, or even just here, like just staying at home and like the Lakers came here on a back-to-back the whole time leading up to their trip here to the first day and the second day. They didn't say whether LeBron was going to play until less than an hour before tip-off. That's BS, okay? Like, I can't commit to a Spurs game. The Spurs, if you didn't know, are bottom feeders in the NBA. I cannot commit hundreds of dollars to see the Spurs on the idea that LeBron may play. Now, granted, he ends up playing in both of those games. I miss out because, well, I'm just not going to sucker up all that cash to risk seeing Lonnie Walker's comeback to San Antonio. Okay. Now, you know what? Shout out to everybody that went. Hope you all had a great time. There's a very real world in which LeBron just doesn't play and Davis doesn't play, and you know those tickets are worth $30 instead of $300, which has happened, by the way, in the past, and that's why I was a little scared to buy tickets prematurely. But that's everybody, right? Like, it's such a hard sell to buy tickets to these events in advance. Now, injuries are always going to be part of the game, man, and that's just part of the risk you take in enjoying live sports. But the little BS, the petty stuff, you know. I love the addition of the 65 game minimum for awards. 65 was my number. If you go back to the last episode, this idea was either being floated or it was just, I think the idea was being floated in the lead up to the CBA ratification, or however you want to say it. And I gave a number. There was no number yet, and I gave the number 65. 65 basically means you played more than 2/3 of the season. You were a mainstay for most of the games. And it means you can't notch the scoring title. I think the scoring title minimum before was like 57 games. Okay, that's ridiculous. And I already went on this stuff last time. But yeah, we need to incentivize and encourage guys to play. So if it means sitting out because you have a left pinky toe contusion, whereas if it was a playoff game, you'd be out there and look fine. You should play. But we should also make it easier. We should cut out back-to-backs. If it means we keep 82 games, then like make the season longer. Like add a week at the front and the back of each season. Whatever, man. Just make it a little bit longer. Cut these back-to-backs, man. We've cut down on them. It's time we cut them out, because there's some guys who just won't play in a back-to-back. at all. Like Kawhi Leonard for most of the year. And on a smaller scale, Al Horford, guys who are a little bit older, just aren't going to welcome it. They're just not going to play on the back-to-back. If you eliminate that stipulation, they now have a way harder time finding reason to miss those games. And I said I wasn't going to go on this crazy rant, but I went on this crazy rant. The whole point of this episode is, well, we're getting ready for the playoffs. Like, that was supposed to be the whole thing about the dog days of the NBA. They suck because I'm kind of tuning out and I'm just ready for the playoffs. Well, here we go. I want to talk about the West playoff picture, how it's a jumbled mess. And I want to talk about how, I want to kind of talk about, like, what's at stake in these playoffs. You know, obviously the NBA championship. But who's got the most to play for? You know, who, if bounced out in the first or second round, are we going to mock and ridicule and clown all summer long, right? Because we always have that, and it adds parity and it adds distinction to each and every playoff game. And this is where legacies are kind of made and written. You can do all the winning you want to in the regular season, but if you don't get that ring, I'm not wearing any rings, so it doesn't really matter. You know, what did it all mean? What did it all mean? Did it all matter? If you're Dame Lillard, you're going to go to the grave saying that it doesn't really matter, and that winning, or that, I guess, losing rather, with one city is just as meaningful as winning with any other team. I don't know. But this West playoff thing is crazy. Teams are in a dogfight to avoid playing Phoenix in the first round. 3 days left in the season. It may get glaringly obvious with the last 2 or 3 games. I don't know. Quick break, and then we're going to get into the playoffs. So as we shape up into the so lovely playoff season, we kind of know what's going on in the East. We kind of would you not be surprised if anybody else besides the Bucks and the Celtics met in the Eastern Conference Finals? Right. You'd be kind of stunned. Which, I mean, that's just not applicable in the Western Conference. Right? That's just not applicable in the Western Conference whatsoever. Because when you look at the East, the Sixers are going to face the Celtics in the second round. Either the Cavs or the Knicks will face the Bucks. Yeah, that's it, man. That's it. Not that those are easy paths, and the 76ers do have who end up being crowned MVP in Joel Embiid. I don't think anybody's picking the Sixers against the Celtics besides people that live inside of Philadelphia. Maybe that's just me being biased, but really I haven't heard anybody talk about the Sixers to beat the Celtics. Plus, they just never beat the Celtics. They just don't. That's why the West is so compelling. One, do you have a favorite? I'm looking at it now. I'm going chalk, which actually I think the betting odds say the Suns should be your favorite. I'm going with the Nuggets, man. I think they've got one of the 2 best players in the NBA. I think they've got the most... I don't know. I see... None of these teams have a tremendous case. The Nuggets have one of the 2 best players in the NBA. And what else? They have 52 wins. They don't have the deepest team. No, I don't love their bench. Their bench is highlighted by Jeff Green and Bruce Brown. How about the Grizzlies? Well, they have 50 wins. They have John Morant. Now, there's questions about Steven Adams' health, and they are missing Brandon Clark for the rest of the year, and that's probably an underrated injury, considering the defensive versatility he brought to the table, and the fact that he meant a lot to their depth. Yeah, you know, I do like this Grizzlies team quite a bit. They're incredible at home, just like the Nuggets are. But I look at that Grizzlies away record and I see that they're 15-24. So I don't love that. However, playing some good basketball right now. I think when John Morant came back, he just kind of he fit in very seamlessly. How about the Kings? I like them a lot. Incredible on offense. Really good at home, or good at home. Good at home. Arguably better on the road, 25-15. Dead even, 5-5 in their last 10. We know the defensive stuff. Bottom 5 defense. Is some of that maybe a little bit overblown? Maybe. But we also know that this game tends to slow down in the postseason. Just does. And so your league best offense, well, I don't know. All of a sudden, it may slow down. You may struggle to find shots. Okay, how about the Suns? Okay, they're unbeaten when Kevin Durant plays, right? And that further kind of moves along the case for Kevin Durant being the most seamless plug-and-play superstar maybe of all time. But, how many games have they actually had together? Durant goes down for a few weeks, misses some time, and now they've got this last week of the season to kind of put it all together. Also a losing record on the road, 17-23. It's kind of the way things go out west. A lot of those losses are coming to East teams. None as bad as the Warriors at 9-30. They are in that 6th spot, tied with the Clippers at 42-38. How about the Clippers? Kawhi's been on another planet for about 2 months now. That's not getting talked about enough that Kawhi is back. Like, athletically, he looks incredible. But Paul George, when's he coming back? He's being reevaluated. They're not doing anything without Paul George. So with question marks around Paul George, I'm kind of out. But I'm not. I say that to say none of these teams can be written off. 1 through, I would say, 7 cannot be written off. Okay, let's go with the Warriors, 42-38. We know the on-the-road stuff, 9-30, abysmal. It's a little, well, for one, it's uncharacteristic. But it's kind of insane. Because a team that struggles on the road, you would say young team, you would say inexperienced team, you would say team that, young, inexperienced, playing with nerves, easily rattled. That's not what you would say. That's not how you would describe the Warriors. You would describe the Warriors as veteran, as proven, as tough as nails. You would point to the leadership of Draymond Green. You would talk about Stephen Curry. You would talk about Steve Kerr. They've been there, done that, 4 titles over the past decade. Like, they know how to win on the road. Well, something's up. Missed Andrew Wiggins for the last 21 games, I believe. He's not going to play the rest of the regular season. One would imagine he's there to start in the playoffs. A lot of people are writing off the Warriors, man. I can't, and I'll tell you why, because I wrote them off last year. And obviously, here I am. I didn't have to tell you that, okay? I didn't have the podcast last year. I didn't. So I didn't have to come and fess up, but I wrote them off last year, man. And I'm not doing that again. This is a team that does not need fuel to their fire. And so everybody who's writing them off, they're just writing it down, taking note. Man, 4 playoff rounds can seem like eternity. But to a team like the Warriors who have been there, done that, like I said, proven, tested, been there, they know how to win, man. That's a team that knows how to win. Stephen Curry has been out of his mind this year. They just got back I think when you factor in the 2-way play of Wiggins, I often refer to Andrew Wiggins as their second best player. And I think that's true. I think he's their second best player. I think he's so important. He was so important to them last year in the finals run. He became huge in the finals, whether it was defending Tatum and Brown, whether it was adding the offensive versatility that he did. And Still can't get over his career rehab and how well it's gone in Golden State. And I'm so happy for the guy, because it didn't seem like he wasn't on his way out of the league, but he was already tagged with the bust label and all that. But okay, that's the Warriors. Let's go down to the Lakers. 2 top 10 players when healthy. That's the Lakers, man. They have 2 top 10 players when LeBron and AD are healthy and rolling. Those 2 are top 10 guys. And if you have 2 top 10 guys, you've got a damn good shot. And with the Lakers, you kind of got to throw out everything before February, right? Because October, November, December, January, this team did not have Malik Beasley, who I like, although a little bit spotty, inefficient at times. He adds some shooting. He adds a little offensive versatility, something this team needed. I don't know if they thought Lonnie Walker was going to be the best three-point shooter since Ray Allen or what, but they added some. They got some shooting in Malik Beasley. That was important. Jared Vanderbilt, who is setting the world on fire. It's really nice to see him play on a big team. Now that he plays on national TV almost every other night. The league has taken notice of his incredible defense, and he's added another layer of versatility and has added to what the Lakers can do. D'Angelo Russell. I don't love D'Angelo Russell, but I didn't love Russell Westbrook there either. And I like D'Angelo Russell more. His shooting capability, his ability to stretch the floor. I like what he does with the ball in his hands. I think you can trust him. If he was my team's best player, no. If he's my team's second best player, no. If he's my team's third decision maker, then the first 2 are LeBron and AD. I'm okay with that. And I like it. I like this Lakers team a lot. 7-3 in the last 10. They're kind of clicking at the right times. LeBron, who, he said he went to the LeBron James of feet doctors, and he said that he beat this injury and faster than anybody in the history of the world. And hey, I believe him. He's LeBron James, man. I believe him. I like this Lakers team. Maybe at the end of this, I'll rank my West teams kind of vaguely. Nothing set in stone. We still have a few days left, and we still have this play-in tournament. So we'll see how it all goes. But then at 8, we've got the Pelicans. No Zion. I don't take you seriously. Timberwolves. Too young, too messy. They're welcoming back Cat now, and Cat is Cat, man. Cat is awesome. Had a lot of stuff. I still don't know about him and Gobert. I still don't know how it all works out. There's a lot to love there. Everybody's high on McDaniels. Me too. I love Anthony Edwards as much as the next guy. They're not ready for anything too serious yet. Thunder in the 10 spot. That's the cutoff for the play-in. They're tied record-wise with the Mavs at 38 and 42, but if it ended today, it would go to the Thunder. The Thunder are really awesome. I know a lot of people have SGA for most improved. SGA was already badass. He was a high draft pick, already badass. I don't think that's how that award should work. I don't really care. Give it to him if you want. We'll do the award show next week. Thunder, not ready for prime time. Nothing serious. Hey, I saw something about how Jalen Williams is a potential future superstar. Cut it out. Okay, we've gotten way too high on some of this stuff. The Thunder are really fun, though. I love the Thunder. They're going to be really good. And maybe next year. Maybe next year they're a lot closer to that 4 or 5 seed instead of that 10 seed. They're going to get a semi-favorable pick here. They're going to get Chet Holmgren back next year. Hopefully he's put on a little bit of muscle. Hopefully he's not skinnier than me. But the Thunder are going to be really good. I really like what they're doing. 8 through 10 are non-factors in the playoffs. Pelicans, Timberwolves, Thunder, I think all of them would be swept in a playoff series today. Now, if Zion was on the Pelicans, it's a different story, but he's not. So let's rank them. I told you if I had to pick one, I'd go Nuggets. So Nuggets are my favorite to come out of the West. And then I'll go... It's... The next one is tough. I want to go Suns. I'll go Suns. And then I'll go Lakers. And then I'll go Warriors. If Paul George was active and healthy and playing tonight, it's a different story. Because I like the Clippers. I just think Kawhi's been incredible. Kawhi's just been incredible. And if you were drafting, if you had the guarantee of health for 4 straight playoff rounds, if you had the guarantee, and we were drafting all guys in the league today, Kawhi goes... Who goes ahead of Kawhi? Giannis? Yeah. Not Embiid. Nope, not Jokic. At this point, not LeBron, I don't think. I think I would go Kawhi. I have the guarantee of health for 4 straight playoff rounds. I know, it's whimsical, magical, fairy tale land. I get it. But amuse me. Giannis 1. I think I go Kawhi 2. Maybe I'm being maybe that's recency bias, but maybe it's not, because he hasn't won a title since 2019. He's only got 2 of them. Okay. But just think about how dominant Kawhi Leonard has been in the NBA playoffs and NBA finals games. He's been there. He's so unfazed. He leans all the way into the idea that he's an alien from outer space or that he's a robot. He's really just superhuman. He's playing like that right now. Man, he's incredible. Maybe KD ahead of him. I know I kind of missed that, but also KD got swept by Jason Tatum last year, who I might also consider because he's incredible, although we haven't seen it for 4 straight playoff rounds yet from Jason Tatum. That would be me, even me, putting my bias aside. But he's also only just turned 25, so not really in the same group as the other guys. Yeah, I say all this to say that the West is effed up, man, and it's awesome. It guarantees us incredible first round matchups, and anybody who's saying no matter what, the Kings are swept, the Kings are out of it, they won't advance, don't do that, man, because the Kings are awesome, and everybody in this group has a chance to make a lot of noise. That being said, the Nuggets, Grizzlies, and Kings, despite being the top seeds, are going to have a tough draw. So yeah, you know what? The Kings are going to have a tough go. They're either going to get the Clippers, the Warriors, or the Lakers, and it's going to be tough. And the Grizzlies are either going to get the Lakers, the Warriors, maybe the Clippers. It's going to be tough. And the Nuggets may, depending on how this play-in tournament goes, they may get the Lakers. They may get the Warriors. We're going to find out more about the seeding stuff after tonight. And then, of course, everything will be locked into place on Sunday. And next week, I will do a much more official kind of episode talking about, I think I'm going to rank the playoff matchups. Maybe we'll do a play-in episode. But then once everything's set, 1 through 8, we'll definitely rank the playoff matchups. And that'll be a lot of fun. Man, the West is going to be nuts. The West is going to be nuts. But throughout the entire NBA, there's a lot at stake in this postseason. There just is, man. There just is. And I want to talk about that. Who's got the most to play for in this NBA playoffs? There's some storylines you may have forgotten about. You may need a refresher. Just a little. It's just fun to talk about because we always get to the playoffs and the stakes are raised. Legacies are made. Ring culture. We live in it. We live it by it and we die by it. So we're going to get into all of it. Quick break, and then we're going to talk about what's at stake in this year's playoffs. So what exactly is at stake in the 2023 NBA playoffs? Let's run through it. We're getting ready to announce the winner of the MVP award this year, and it's with all certainty going to be either Nikola Jokic or Joel Embiid. Most likely going to be Embiid. I feel like the narrative's really running with Embiid. I don't know how much stock you put into the straw polls that have been coming out, but that's based off of real voters. And it seems like most of the stock is with Embiid right now. And I'm not saying that for better or worse. Truly, I do think Nikola Jokic is probably more indifferent towards it than he would be like upset about not getting it. Plus, I think winning it would definitely put added pressure on him and the Nuggets. However, that pressure's already there, and it's been there. We already talked about it now. How are we going to give the award to Jokic for a third straight time when the guy's never won a title, when he's never been to an NBA Finals, right? I think it's a little unfair. Point me to a season where the Nuggets have had a fully healthy roster in the playoffs with time to gel. They just haven't. They haven't had a healthy Jamal Murray. Jokic has reached a conference final, and I think that kind of gets lost in this narrative too. Like, Joel Embiid hasn't done shit in the playoffs either. He's never played in a conference final. His numbers aren't exactly setting the world on fire. Career, he's 22-22 in the postseason, and he's never played in a conference final, and he averages 24 points a game on 46% shooting, 29% from three. Like I said, not exactly setting the world on fire. And I know those teams weren't all star-studded, and maybe some of them were ahead of their time, and say what you will about Ben Simmons, but yeah, and it's not all on Jokic and it's not all on Embiid, but we talk about Jokic like he's, like just a total bum in the postseason, and that's just not true, and it's not true about Embiid either. But we're getting to that point where these guys are in the primes of their careers, and we're starting to talk about them as all-timers. I see the stuff about Embiid is the closest thing to Olajuwon since Olajuwon, and I'm like, hey, slow down a little bit. But it's out there, and I see it, and the stuff is right there with Jokic too. And undoubtedly, if he won a 3-time MVP, that would launch him into yet another insane category, and that's right there on the table. But the point being, no matter who takes home this award, granted, whoever does take home the award just will have that much more pressure on them and their team. But whoever takes home this award, regardless, these two guys, Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid, it's time to play up to the level of your how do I say your reputation. It's time to play up to the level of your reputation, because Nikola Jokic, you are the 1 seed, right? You have a fully healthy team, so it's go time. It's go time. And Joel Embiid, this is your best season you've ever had. Congratulations. You're primed for success. You're in the 3 spot, and you're gonna draw a pretty favorable first round matchup, most likely against Brooklyn. It's go time. Then you got the Celtics in the second round. Figure it out. It's go time. This is, it's not going to be okay for you to say this is not a rivalry. They always kick our ass. I mean, that meme, granted, us Celtics fans, we cherish it. We pass it around. We love it. But hey, that's not going to be acceptable after this year. You're in the prime of your career. You have James Harden, who that's kind of the other thing here for Philly is there's a huge elephant in the room, a huge weight weighing over the franchise. It's a real possibility that James Harden walks this offseason. And I don't know if that's the right move. I mean, I don't know if it's a lock that it would be only to Houston. I don't know if it could be another team. Those two seem to get along very well, Joel Embiid and James Harden. But you got to start to wonder if they underperform, if they bounce out early. That's just probably going to be more motivation for James Harden to walk out. And, I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but it's something that Philly and Joel Embiid have to be thinking about. Less so for the Nuggets because I don't think they're in a position to blow anything up. I mean, they don't really have a true second star. I mean, you'd like to say it's Jamal Murray, but, he's not necessarily an all-star. He can play like one when he's really going, but it's been a bit of a streaky season. I know he missed a lot of time and took him a while to get back into the flow of things, but they don't really have the blow it up potential. No real threatening like impending free agency or any drama up to the level of James Harden potentially walking in free agency. Then you've got the fact that Philly's now kind of done this quite a few times. This Embiid Harden pairing hasn't been together that long, but the idea that they traded for Harden and then he could just walk for nothing, it's something to think about. And I know Daryl Morey's thinking about it, and the stuff is there for Doc Rivers too. I'm not saying Doc Rivers will get fired. Doc Rivers does have a lot of pedigree and has a reputation that shouldn't but does precede him, and there's a lot to take note of with Philly in this postseason. The Suns took a huge swing this year, and they better not have missed. They bet it all on Kevin Durant, and up until this point, it hasn't really been a win. It hasn't really been a loss. They haven't lost with Durant in the lineup yet. That's important, but he also hasn't played a lot. And CP3 misses games. Now, at the time of the trade, Booker was out too. So you took a swing on another guy who isn't known to be the most healthy. Okay, well, he's back, and he's right. And he's right now. And you've got all you guys going to the playoffs. I'm not saying it's title or bust, but when you made that trade, you opened the door for the title or bust talk and arguments. So here we are, and that's gonna be the expectation. You bring in a guy like Kevin Durant, you bet it all on Kevin Durant. Really leverage much of your future for it. If they don't at least make a conference final and make it competitive, I would say if they don't make the finals, they're probably looking at a long summer, right? I don't know if I would be so harsh on them because, like I said, they haven't had a lot of time to gel, and anybody who knows, basketball or sports in general, continuity matters. So I'm not going into this playoffs expecting them. They're not my favorite. Like I said, I like Denver more as we stand currently. And if you ask me to take them or Phoenix to the field, of course I would take the field because there's just way too much uncertainty with Phoenix. Just way too much uncertainty there. I think they could draw us. I mean, we're talking about teams fighting to avoid them in the first round, but those three teams, LA, and Golden State, they're going to be tough draws. You think Phoenix is really looking forward to playing Kawhi Leonard or LeBron James or Anthony Davis or Steph Curry in the first round? You think they're looking forward to either of those? No. They probably thought they were going to get an easier draw. They probably thought, man, we might get New Orleans or we might get Minnesota or something like that. But they've locked themselves into that 4 spot, and the LA teams have caught up, and Golden State's right there, and they're going to get a tough draw in the first round. So pressure's going to be on right away in the West, and that's why this year's first round is going to be one of the most exciting first rounds we've had in a long time. That being said, on the other side of that coin is the LA teams. We look at the Lakers. You look at both teams are blow it up candidates, I think. When you really look at it, I think if you have an early bounce out, if you're the Lakers, you really got to look at where is this train headed, right? You'd love to say run it back, but you've been running it back. And what you've got in Anthony Davis is not a player who's going to be there all 82 games. You know that about LeBron now too, but with LeBron, it's weird because LeBron's going to miss time, but LeBron conveniently is always ready for the playoffs, right? And is just much more of I still think LeBron's just so much more of a sure thing than Anthony Davis is, right? I just put a lot more stock into LeBron. Granted, I think he's the greatest player of all time. And Anthony Davis barely scratches up. He doesn't even scratch that conversation at all. He's much more like a top 75 all-time player. But you gotta wonder, do they look to trade Davis? Do they look to trade LeBron? I don't know. I don't think they do. I think, ultimately it just would sound way too crazy to them to do either of those things. And they would just run it back with, the case for LA to keep everybody together is well, you got to throw out the first half of the season. And we were so much better after the trade deadline. And so if we get a full season of that, then yada, yada, yada. And they may be onto something, but also it's LA and the pressure's on. You're expected to win now, and you've got LeBron, you've got AD, and they would have to probably look ahead a year from now and be like, what's up with this Bronny thing? Do we think Bronny's coming to the NBA right away after his first year in college? And is LeBron serious about leaving? That could really skew their perception of the future of LeBron and AD being in LA. Same goes for the Clippers. This is year 5 of the Paul George and Kawhi experience, and you're not happy with what you've seen, right? If you're a Clippers fan, if you're in that front office with the Clippers, you're not thrilled with what you're seeing. You're especially not thrilled with what you're seeing when you factor in that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is incredible, and they only have a few more. You only have a few more wins than the Thunder do, and you have arguably a much more talented team. Between Paul George and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, of course, SGA has surpassed Paul George as a player. Overall, I think SGA's right on the brim of top 10 player. And Paul George just isn't at this point. Still give me Kawhi. When you factor in the fact, when it's SGA for Kawhi and Paul George, you still take Kawhi and Paul George, right? But with all the draft picks and the hemorrhaging of the future of the team it's all worth it if they win, right? You get even just one title out of this thing, and you're like, man, that trade was worth it 100%. You would do it up over and over and over again. But I don't know, man. Has it been worth it up to this point? I don't think anybody would say it's been worth it up to this point. It just hasn't been. And it's a shame because a lot of that has to do with health and just sheer luck. So much of that's been out of the hands of the Clippers and Kawhi and Paul George, but they haven't drawn a good hand here, and they spent a lot to do this, and it hasn't worked out. So if they are an early bounce out, if they draw Phoenix early on and they bounce out, gonna be a really long summer for the Clippers. And this is where you start to maybe hear about the next star moving on. And I don't know what it would look like. I don't know what it would mean. They've got that shiny new stadium. I'm sure they don't want to roll into it with what looks like an expansion team, remnants of what was once a playoff squad. So I don't think they're going to look to rebuild, but there's blow it up potential in crypto.com arena. There just is right now for both teams. Boston. Yeah, I'm putting them here. One hit wonder potential, is kind of their narrative. I don't think anybody's saying that. I think they're a pretty big favorite to reach the conference final. We talked about it a little bit earlier. I think they're definitely not the favorite to leave the East, which is, the Bucks had the better regular season. So if you want to put the Bucks in there, if you want to pencil them in, or some people are marking the Bucks to make the finals with Sharpie. I'm definitely not doing that. But hey, if that's your forte, if that's what you want to do. But the thing with Boston here is, Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. I'm seeing the Jaylen Brown stuff everywhere now. Every fan page of every team that sucks or is in the lottery is like, Jaylen Brown will be a Rocket next year. Jaylen Brown will be on the Mavs next year. And I don't know. I don't put any stock into that shit. I've been seeing Jaylen Brown trade rumors since he was drafted. So, but also he's made that feeling well known this year, and that's why we're seeing all of this drama boil and bubble up. But I don't think the Celtics, no doubt, make no moves like that this summer. Absolutely not. No matter what happens, title, first round exit, doesn't matter. They're not making any kind of moves like that. They would not even be on the table. This is a move that's way far out in the future. And now with this new CBA, I'd say it's pretty likely that Jaylen Brown makes an All-NBA team, and he gets to sign a huge extension. Dude, if he makes All-NBA, and I'm rooting for it because, in most cases, you'd kind of root for the guy, you'd be like, man, rooting for you, but also hope you don't take up 35% of the salary cap because then we can't sign anybody else. I want him to get it. He deserves it, and I would just like to go to sleep at night knowing I can root for Jaylen Brown on my team. So, and if he gets All NBA and he gets the huge extension, which they wouldn't even argue about it. There would not even be a discussion. The Celtics would go to him with the full max and say, here you go, sign. And Jaylen Brown would, I'm 99.9999999% sure, without hesitation, put pen to paper on that deal and just put this shit behind us. And then the salary cap's going to go up and it'll all adjust. It wouldn't be any different than it is now. Older guys on smaller deals to accommodate the two superstars. That's what it would be. That's what the Celtics team is. Savvy moves by Trader Brad and great coaching by Ime Joe Mazzulla. Damn. I almost said his full name. He who shall not be named. But yeah, sure. Boston's got a little bit of pressure on them going into this playoffs. You can't say they don't. They definitely got something. But if they fight their ass off in a conference finals, get to a game 7, if they make it to a finals and they win, if they win, obviously they're really default pressure. But if they play great finals, I think it's not such a cruel and drastic summer. But I think any team that makes it out of the East is going to be favored in the finals. So maybe it would be. I don't know. The Bucks, I got them here, but they get a pass because they won the title in 2021. But you got the best player in the league. You got the best record in the league. You're always going to have pressure. You're always going to have to prove it. But we know who the Bucks are, man, and they don't. I'm not going to beat them up. If they lose, I'm hoping we beat them. Well, I'm hoping the Celtics never have to play the Bucks. But if things go according to plan, it's going to be Celtics Bucks in the East Finals, and hopefully Celtics take care of business there. But in that event, I'm not going to beat up on the Bucks, and I don't think anybody else would or should. That's a crazy good matchup. It's the best thing we got in the NBA right now is Milwaukee and Boston. So they're on the list because anytime you're the best team, you're the best player. But nobody's like, Giannis, where's your ring? Or Milwaukee, bunch of fakers and posers. Like, no, they already won. They already won a title. They're relieved from the pressure for a long time. They did that. They did their job, and so that's why I put Boston ahead of them. They're going to have a little bit more pressure. They have yet to show it for full 4 playoff rounds, and Jason Tatum has yet to show it for 4 playoff rounds, and they've got this year to do that. And I mean, it feels like it was a few weeks ago that we were talking about the 2022 NBA Finals and how giddy I was for that. Man, but that's mostly it. I mean, there's pressure on everybody, right? We don't even, I think the worst thing is, we'll do an honorable mention, Dallas and Luka and Kyrie. Man, I don't know. Man, what a disaster that was. And hey, I hate to be, I told you so. I really do. I genuinely do. I like Kyrie, man. As much as a person who has gone on record and said they hate Kyrie, I like Kyrie. Like, I'm not rooting for the guy's demise and downfall at every waking moment, okay? Yeah, he effed us over, man. He did, but he did the same thing to Cleveland. He did the same thing to Brooklyn. He may be doing the same thing right now to Dallas. I don't know. Ultimately, I think he puts pen to paper on a long-term deal with Dallas. I think they're going to give it to him, whether they're right to do that or not. And I think he's going to be there for a little bit longer, just because I think he needs some security. I mean, probably financially, and just, if he's going to hold his spot in this league, he'd like to probably see a 4-year deal come across the table, and I think the Mavs will give it to him. If not, this is where some of that blow it up stuff in LA starts to get there, and I think maybe there's something there, sign and trade. I don't know. That is great conversation for the offseason, man, and I'm glad we have it. But man, that was just a disastrous move. Disastrous, like 18 months for the Mavs. They never have to get Kyrie and give up Dinwiddie and give up Finney-Smith and give up the picks if they just do their job and just re-sign Brunson. I mean, hey, that was the move the whole time. And you saw Luka be pretty, I don't want to say depressed, but dispirited when asked about Jalen Brunson the other day. They asked him if he missed him, and he was like, absolutely. And he went out of his way to say that he was a really great guy, just as much he was a great player. And I'm not saying that that's a shot at anybody in the locker room. I'm really not. But feels like that team could use a guy like Brunson. I look at the Mavs and they don't have fun. I look at the Knicks and that's a team that has a lot of fun, right? Josh Hart, especially now. Randall, Brunson, Quickly, Barrett, they all have fun. Like, even where there's a little bit of positional overlap and, maybe there would be tension in other locker rooms, man, they just have fun. They do. That team looks like they have fun every night, and I wouldn't want to play them in a playoff series, honestly. And meanwhile, the Mavs are on the outside looking in, and it doesn't look like they have a very direct path forward. And this is where some of the Luka leaving the Dallas stuff is going to start to perk up. It just is. They're nowhere near that, though. I mean, we're talking about next summer before things ever even became serious in the slightest. And it would take a hard demand by Luka and almost like a lockout type of move. I mean, he is one of the 5 best players in the NBA. He's not getting traded. So don't get excited if you're like Orlando and you're like, we're gonna trade Paolo Banchero or we're gonna get Luka Doncic. You're not, dude. You're not. So don't get excited like that. But yeah, honorable mention, Dallas. If they really don't make the play-in tournament and they really don't make the playoffs at all, man, what a freaking flop of a season. Pretty far way to fall after reaching the conference finals and having Luka Doncic on your team. But yeah, man, that's kind of the episode. It's kind of the episode. Had fun with this one. This one was kind of like a return to the mic. I've been traveling. I've been really busy. I know that's bullshit. I know I've been really busy, but really I have. And I haven't just it's been, like I said, it's the dog days of the season. I don't want to talk about the Thursday night game between Orlando and Atlanta. No, I don't. I just don't want to talk about that. We're gonna have way more fun in the playoffs, and yeah, we're gonna rank the playoff matchups once they're here, and we're going to do. We already did the All NBA teaser. That was the last episode, and so I don't want to be too repetitive. And then once the season's over, give my official All NBA teams because they're not going to be much different. They may change a little bit, but I don't think I've done anything with the awards. So like we'll do an official MVP thing. I think there's going to be a 2-parter probably late next week. Maybe during the play-in or after the play-in, we'll rank the playoff matchups, and then we'll do the deep dive on MVP and who I would be casting my vote for if the NBA so much as entrusted me with a vote. So that's what you have to look forward to. That's what I have to look forward to, and I have to get ready and working on because I love the MVP. And I usually, when I'm deep in my basketball bag, I do a written piece on the MVP as well. I'm just not that impassioned about this MVP race. I'm just not. In years prior where it was Harden on the line, James Harden, who should be a 3-time MVP, 2015 and 2017. Don't at me. Or if Tatum was still in the race this year, I'd be really fired up about that. I'm just not that it's either Jokic, who I love, wins it a 3rd time. Not that pressing that he wins one. I mean, it would be great for him to do it. Or Embiid wins it for the first time, and they're both deserving candidates. And yeah, I mean, this isn't 2017. Like in 2017, Kawhi and Harden and Westbrook were all deserving candidates. Bullshit. It was Harden's award. It's actually asinine when you go back and look. How did Westbrook win that award? Narrative, Durant left, triple-double average, that's it. Bullshit. He should never won that award. This isn't like that. I mean, it's either Embiid wins it or Jokic wins it or Giannis wins it, but Giannis isn't going to win it. And it's not to say he's not deserving. He's not going to win it because there's no narrative for him. There's just not. And this is a narrative award for the most part. And so it's either going to be Jokic or Embiid, and they're both really deserving and awesome players. And I guess I'd be happy for either one of them. I guess I don't really give a shit. I guess I'm rooting for Jokic because the fan in me is I'm a huge Jokic fan. I don't really like Embiid because he's a Sixer. But I also know that it's between those two, and I'm not going to be delusional and tell you it's Jason Tatum. I think it matters who the top 5 are, and I think forever it was going to go somewhat like this. It was going to go somewhat like Jokic, Embiid, Giannis, Tatum, Luka. Luka cannot be on it. I'm sorry. Even at this point, even if they make the play-in, I don't give a shit. You're not making it. Give it to Fox. Give it to one of the Kings guys. Yeah, we give it to Fox because of the clutch numbers and the clutch stuff and how awesome the Kings have been. And he is just incredible. I would give it to Fox at the 5 spot. If you're the 11 seed, I don't care how special you are. You're not going to make my top 5. But Tatum is no doubt 4. So anyways, thanks for noticing the stubble. Little 5 o'clock shadow going on. I don't know if I like it. It is what it is. It's just, don't make anything of it. I've been watching a show called Boston Legal. So if the name Denny Crane means nothing to you, then whatever, but that show's awesome. I'm going to watch some of it right now while I edit this up and get it uploaded. How long is this? Oh, shit, it's long. Shit. It's going to take longer to piece it together, so I might not go up till tomorrow. Drinking a Dr. Pepper. Oh, let me show you guys this. So we talked about the Boston trip a little bit. I'm going to show you a couple things. So this one's kind of cheating because I bought it before the trip, but I wore it to the game, and it's special because It's kind of hard to get, although I think I saw 100 of them at the team shop. So how hard are they to get? I don't really know. But look, awesome Tatum City Edition jersey. I love these. I don't always love the City Edition stuff. And this one's awesome. So, of course, they're going to take it away because that's how the Nike NBA sponsorship works. There's no continuity in the team jerseys at all, which sucks. But that's another rant for another day. Red Sox. Masataka Yoshida. Outside of Rafael Devers, now my favorite Red Sox. Watched him during the World Baseball Classic. And I also just am high on him because, one, he was awesome in the NPB, which is the probably second greatest league in baseball, and that's underrated. And also teams and, whenever it's an anonymous rival executive, we're shitting on the Red Sox for signing him, and I think he's awesome, and they got him for such a steal, and he's been great to start the season. And he's part of why we won that walk-off game that I went to in Boston. So you know what? Dang it, I didn't do my hair. It's driving me nuts. Doesn't matter. It's the last minute of the episode. So thank you for checking this out. Also, just not like I need to shout out Matt Damon and Ben Affleck for crying out loud. That Air movie, I saw it last night on Wednesday, dude. It was badass. Go see it. It makes me want to own a pair of Jordans. I don't yet because the Tatum ones are coming out tomorrow. So maybe I'll get my first pair ever tomorrow. And that'll be next week's show and tell on the episode. But yeah, awesome movie. Obviously, Ben Affleck and Matt Damon, Boston Stan is what it is, man. Check it out. It's badass. Jason Bateman, Chris Tucker. It's awesome. Viola Davis. Woo, damn. Good movie. Check it out. Probably my favorite movie of the year so far. But I haven't seen the Mario movie yet, so that's subject to change. Just kidding. Thank you for checking this out. Big stuff coming during the playoffs. This was kind of just a fun episode. Thank you so much for joining. See you on the next one.